name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network, a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. In addition to the advising, training, and business information that our 26 local SBDC offices provide, we offer specialty programs such as the International Business Development Program, or IBD. The IBD program works with established firms to enhance their global success. Our certified global business professionals provide confidential advising, training, and customized research to help companies mitigate risk, prioritize markets, identify financing, and grow export sales. The Virginia SBDC IBD program has helped hundreds of Virginia companies from a variety of industry sectors to enter markets around the world. Today's webinar, Manufacturing, How Onshoring Led One Virginia Company to Realize New Growth Opportunities, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network IBD program. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box, and we will address them either during or after the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Aaron Miller, Director of the Virginia SBDC International Business Development Program.
Thank you.
Take it away, Aaron.
Thanks, Sheila. Well, I'm really excited to be here today to hopefully shed some light on a topic that is all over the news these days, and which is reshoring or onshoring. And as somewhat agnostic to this process, myself not having this background, I really wanted to highlight one of our companies that has had some success in doing that. So today I'm really excited to sit down with Ben Barani. Ben is the COO of a company called Oransi, based in Radford, Virginia. They manufacture electric motor technologies. They were originally an air purifier company, but as they've grown, they've gotten into a number of different fields, such as robotics and unmanned systems and data center cooling industries as well. So with that, I'm excited to speak with Ben. And Ben, maybe you can start off by giving us a little bit of background on you and then a brief history of Oransi.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Aaron, you guys having Oransi and myself here on the call, and thank you to SBDC for hosting this webinar. My name is Ben Barani. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Oransi, located in Radford, Virginia, just 20 minutes south of Virginia Tech. Background, went to Virginia Military Institute up in Lexington. Lived in Radford 18 years, moved to Richmond, and so I actually commute back and forth between Richmond and Radford. But the moral of the story and why you guys are all here is to learn about Oransi and how we got here. So what I'll do is I'll try to keep a high-level background, but it's always nice to have the context of how we transitioned from an air purifier company to a motor technology company. So Oransi was founded in 2009, mostly as an e-commerce website for air purifiers. Pretty niche market pre-COVID, 10 to 15 competitors. And say the least, everyone knows COVID came, disrupted the market for the better. And with that, everyone wanted a piece of the pie. And so that led to 100 plus competitors. And so Peter Mann, who founded Oransi and who's with us today, started looking and thinking outside the box for a technology or a product that separated him from the pack. And that's where I come to play, along with my father, Mo Barani. We started a company called Avimore Technologies in 2019. And what we came up with was a pretty revolutionary idea for an electric motor technology. And when we started that, we needed a customer and investor, and that's where Peter comes into play. And so one thing led to another. We had the same goals and visions. And in August of 2021, we vertically merged and kept Oransi as the name in the new merger. And with that, we bought a 156,000 square foot facility in Radford, Virginia in April 2021. And so what we've been doing the last 5-6 years is a lot of research and development. And with that, we consider reshoring as part of that aspect. So we took our idea of a motor technology to prototype to actually full-on manufacturing. And so with that, we took it a step further and actually assembled and designed the whole air purifier product. And we focused on the air purifier product because we had the expertise in the selling and the customer and marketing aspect. But we wanted to focus on that to prove out that our technology is maturable. And so with that, we launched our air purifier called the unmanned in March of 2024. And with that success, we are leveraging our motor technology into other markets, one being unmanned systems, drones, and the other one being liquid cooling for data centers. And so as we have been around since 2009, we have evolved from an air purifier company to specifically a motor technology company from that standpoint.
That's great, Ben. I want to get into just that evolution of your business a little bit later, but can you kind of give us some background about what were the drivers, the motivations for wanting to reshore production and manufacturing to the US? What was that driving impetus?
Yeah, so Peter Mann had a bunch of contract manufacturers before we came, specifically in China and also in the U.S. And as we started talking, we believed with our motor technology that we would be able to manufacture here in the U.S. at a cost competitive price similar to the imports. And I say imports because 98% of our competitors are from Asia, specifically China. And so we felt that with our technology and the way we designed it, and our proprietariness, we would be able to compete on the cost but better performance. And so that led us to thinking that an American-made product would be very viable and selling points. And so that is what kind of drove us initially for the air purifier market. Ironically, we learned through that process as well that the American consumer is very price sensitive, and anything over 5%, they do not want to spend, even if it's American made. So they'll go with the lowest cost option always within a ballpark of 5%.
Wow. So were you able to get in that ballpark of 5%
Yeah.
for your?
Yeah. On the air purifier side, yes, we were, but it didn't increase the sales that we expected being an American-made product. It takes a little bit more of influencer base. And the other aspects that drove us to was supply chain, really strategic. As everyone kind of remembers, COVID was chaos, and the chip shortage and other parts, and supply chain was a pretty essential long-term initiative of us to really get that honed in and qualified. And so, we source globally. Being a manufacturer, you have to source globally. You can't get all your parts in one country or the other, being price competitive or, from a lead time standpoint. But with that, also we had assembled our products previously in the U.S. Through another contract manufacturer, and when COVID happened, they would push out our dates and raise the price, and then kept on doing that and would never deliver their products to us. And so that also led us to reevaluate our onshoring initiatives.
So how did that process play out? I mean, you're talking about the supply chain struggles that we had there during COVID, rising costs. How did you go about actually, re-examining how you're sourcing these inputs, but also, sourcing new suppliers as well? What can you tell us about this process?
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and you learn from different things and scenarios. An issue will come up that you'll have to pivot. And kind of the aspect I would mention is you got to be flexible in this transition. And we decided to focus on the air purifier side, focus on the big products being sourced here in within a driving distance, 3 to 6 hours. And then the small components we looked at from a cost competitiveness from that standpoint. Did I get your whole question, Aaron? I might have missed it.
Yeah, I think so. Just building on that, just looking at, I'm taking from what you said that it wasn't necessarily a methodology that you
Yeah.
applied, but it was really learning and adapting and being agile on the fly to come in and do that. You mentioned some about your proprietary process. I mean, at the heart of your success in being able to do this was your innovative culture. Is that?
Yeah, no, really, that's the main way you can onshore, I would say. Being a Me Too or just a catalog or a generic product, it's kind of hard to onshore when there's other countries that can do it at a significantly lower cost and have a better production capacity. And so the way we looked at it was innovation is how we stay ahead. One of the key things is we're again in the air purifier market. I keep going back to that. We're competing with the Chinese, and I respect the Chinese wholeheartedly due to the fact of their manufacturing capabilities. And the way to stay ahead of them is through innovation and designing for less labor. As everyone knows, their labor costs are very low. And so the way we have to compete is taking out all the labor in our assembly process. And so you have to start in your design and innovation from the very beginning, from scratch, and design throughout to make it as simple as possible, taking out all the hard assembly aspects. And so that's what makes us able to compete with the imports on price and be able to assemble here is through techniques and having the think outside the box mindset.
And was that process of thinking about implementing these new processes from the ground up, was that primarily you and your father and Peter getting
Yeah.
together and trying new things, or?
Yeah, so one of the things that was going for us is luckily my father had started a previous company before, and so we have an experienced team that we assembled and created here at Oransi, and that allowed us to get to where we are today. And it's having really the core team. It really helped us be able to innovate and design and be flexible. Because without the team, we wouldn't be here today. So it wasn't just Mo, Peter, myself. We had other aspects that helped us get to that point. But it really trial and error. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and to get to the success, you're gonna have a lot of failures in that run.
Yeah. We have a question from one of our participants here that is relevant for this, for where we're at here in our conversation. He wants to know, so did you lower your labor costs via automation, or was it some other means?
So automation is a funny word. We do not use robotics. We use smart automation is how we approach it, and through lean manufacturing, the Six Sigma, the whole that whole concept. And what do we mean by smart automation is creating fixtures, tooling, stuff like that to make it where it's basically just a puzzle piece or a Lego set that you're just assembling. Nothing too advanced. If you make it all fully automated, things change. And if you make your production or assembly line full automated, that's going to cause issues because you have to be agile. And if you buy this particular piece of equipment, that could become obsolete within the next months or so or years. And so with smart automation, it allows you to pivot and move very efficiently as things change. Because quality issues, as much as we would love to say we have zero quality issues, we're pragmatic in the aspect that we know there's going to be quality issues. And as they come up and we learn, we fix them and then adjust our assembly process so we can avoid those like previously. So that's where we are able to lower our labor costs is through smart automation and lean concepts.
That's great. And so it's really, while you're taking some of the labor costs out of it, you still have really highly skilled people who are trained to look at things as they go, not just repetitive processing
Yeah.
of their responsibility there. So
Yeah, it's kind of like a system of checks and balances. We have a quality place set up, a manufacturing engineer who sets everything up, and really operators who go through that motion. And so there's a lot of checks and balances as it goes down through the assembly line to verify that everything that was made was assembled properly to the specs and to our ideas. I think there was another question to the tech, I believe. Yeah, we did develop the tech ourselves, and we have patents pending at the moment. The initial idea that we initially started with having more technology is probably 10 iterations ago, and so it's you start over here and you end up all the way over here. It's kind of the interesting navigation point, and you won't be able to get to that unless you really take the theoretical to practical, and actually building the prototypes, testing them, seeing what works, what doesn't. And that's how we were able to develop our proprietary technology as it progressed through the years.
So another question, and this maybe you've kind of answered this, and but I'll pose it here. What is your design innovation that results in cheaper labor costs? Are there methodology that you followed or could share with us?
Yeah. So again, we go to the Chinese because they're one of the big manufacturing powerhouses, and we have legacy products. And one of the legacy products we get from them, we actually tried to unassemble it and realized we had to stop because we couldn't. And what they have is again unlimited labor, and they love screws. So the way we went about it is, again, we started from scratch in the whole design of the airmen, and we tried to minimize as much screws and labor content in assembling that process. And so with our proprietary motor technology, we're able to assemble a whole airman purifier. And let me jump up real quick.
Yeah.
Just to highlight what we're assembling here. So we actually assemble this whole product here in Virginia, and we can do this whole product from raw material to end product where it's packed, ready, and shipped for the end customer in about 30 minutes. And so that is through our innovation and proprietary technology, and that's what allows us to do that.
That's amazing. How many people are working on assembling that one piece?
Yeah, so currently we have 33 employees. That includes full-time and part-time. In the Radford specific area, I believe we have 19 full-time and 7 part-time from that standpoint. And we have a few other folks in other states on the market, on the customer service side.
Great. Great. Well, I think we have a question about IP as well.
Yep.
Does it help competitively? I'm guessing he's nationally and
Yeah.
internationally. I think he's referring to maybe having patents or.
Yeah. So our IP is, we consider it revolutionary in the motor technology world. My father, who's been in the industry for 40 plus years, actually worked on this specific type of technology back in the 90s, trying to patent it and make it manufacturable. Obviously, that never came to fruition. And then, it's funny how things come back, years later, almost 30 years later, where he finally finds the light bulb to trigger that idea to make it manufacturing. And so, where we believe, utilizing our technology as a platform into other markets, and that is what allows us to be very competitive. And our motor technology doesn't require a lot of capital equipment, and that's a very big reason why we are able to keep costs low. And the motor technology we have, not to get into the details because it can get kind of complex, but this motor technology has been around for years. The issue has been that it's not highly manufacturable or highly scalable. And that's what we've solved, is the scalability and the manufacturability. And that's what excites us. And so, we consider this motor the Louis Vuitton of electric motors, and we're able to sell it at a very at the the traditional electric motor pricing, and that's what is very exciting for us. And then with the success showing that our technology was mature through their purifier market and being out in the field, that's where we're in this transition period into the liquid pumps for data centers and unmanned systems and drones.
And will those products, you'll follow a similar path of
Yep.
manufacturing those here in the US? And...
Yep. Correct. Yep. So that's one of the reasons why we bought a 156,000 square foot facility, is to build as we grow, and allows for that expansion from that standpoint.
So what has been, and we have a question here, I'll kind of tie this together. What's been one of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in doing this? And then tying it into a question we got in the chat here about, you know, the cost that it takes to innovate, and how are you dealing with the transition period, and especially now, given all of the tariff uncertainty.
Oh yeah, he brought the T word. But you know, to get started on that question and the question that the person had, yes, costs is definitely everything costs more and takes longer than you expected. And again, you know, you just gotta start from there and see where things go. Cost wise, you know, one of the things, you know, and I think it may be on a question later, that we learned is to be strategic, and really work with your partners, you know, from a bank standpoint, kind of get them the expectation of what's happening. And, you know, we put a lot of stuff in research and development, and then banks don't like that because it, you know, it doesn't look good. But we were looking at it from a long-term perspective, and, you know, cost is, you know, you have to be mindful, and you know, one of the things that we've done since we merged vertically the last 5 years is we have done a lot of lean events, and gone through that process of eliminating waste. So we have done different segments of our business, one being shipping, one being our warehousing, one being, you know, support staff, stuff like that, and going through the process of, do we need this? You know, is there any cost that we can associate or eliminate, and stuff like that. So that's where we're able to eliminate a lot of the costs, and what we've done from that standpoint. You know, prior to us acquiring this building, 156,000 square foot facility, we had 4 other warehouses. One was in Hebron, Kentucky. One was in Las Vegas. One was in Toronto, and then obviously Amazon. And since we bought all that, or bought this building, we actually got rid of all those warehouses and consolidated everything into this one warehouse. So we do all of our shipment out of this warehouse, and that's Amazon as well. So if you buy our product on Amazon, it's actually going to be shipping from here. It doesn't ship from an Amazon warehouse because they charge you an arm and a leg. And so we have the infrastructure, and so we, you know, went through that analysis and looked at ways we can compete. And then, you know, come again, you know, thinking outside the box, we have a lot of space in this building. And one of the things that popped an idea and what we call our side hustle is third-party logistics and warehousing. If you guys all remember COVID, warehousing was hard to find, storage was hard to find. And so we've had a significant, you know, nice revenue stream from the warehousing infrastructure standpoint to help pay some of the bills from that standpoint. If you don't know lean manufacturing, I would highly recommend and looking that up. You know, lean is not just focused on manufacturing. You can also take it to your personal life. Again, eliminating waste is kind of the goal, and rethinking your strategy. Because as long, you know, as I mentioned that we want zero defects in our quality, we're 100% never going to be, or we're never going to be 100% perfect. And so it's always that innovation of trying to get improvements and eliminating waste from that standpoint.
I want to go
I
back
haven't gotten to tariffs yet. I'll wait till the end on that one.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to something you just mentioned, which was getting the bank to understand, you know, this time and money that you're expending on R&D. How did you, you know, instill confidence in that bank to, you know, give you that longer leash to go about this and set yourself up long term?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. You know, banks they love only looking at historicals. Not to hate on banks or anything. It just, you know, that's how we've come to understand them. They love historical and past performance. And so, we did really well in, during COVID, and then kind of had a drop off because we started spending a lot in research development and had a lot of expenses and salary, payroll aspects that had increased from that standpoint. And as COVID kind of went down a little bit, obviously the revenue went. But we look at it long term, and that's kind of the message we've been working and trying to relay to banks, is try to have them have a vision, which is very hard to do, and then kind of just working that relationship. A lot of this too is relationship driven, and that's anything in business. It's really a lot about who you know, and working through that networking. So I consider myself sometimes an introvert, and I put myself at these happy hours, these networking things, because I see the long-term aspects of, you never know what one person can do for you. And I truly believe, we're 6 degrees of separation from everyone from that standpoint.
Absolutely. Yeah, relationships can't be underestimated in this whole thing, and building that trusted partnerships with other suppliers and
Mhm.
financing and everything. So, well, do you want to talk a little bit about where you guys are at
Yeah.
right now when it comes to these new products that you're putting out on the market?
Yeah. So, like I said, we with our electric motor technology, the world is kind of our oyster, and there's a lot of applications that we could go after. But we strategically focused on two other ones, and that was again the unmanned systems and drones. There has been a big push in that market for a Western domestic infrastructure base. As we all aware, China owns 90% plus in the drone market, and also 90% plus in the motors for drones and the electronic drives. So we thought there was a very appealing initiative from that standpoint, in providing actually the motor components and also the full drones. So we've gone through the last year or so, from providing the motors and electronic drives to actually providing the full-on drones ourselves. And again, that goes into the innovative process, and starting design, keeping it simple and stuff like that. And so again, we have been networking a lot in that industry, and have come to create some partnerships that has allowed us to expand into some other areas. And so we have a lot of exciting things working there, from that standpoint, because there's really not a U.S. domestic motor manufacturer or a U.S. domestic drone manufacturer that is competitive on price, because the Chinese imports are very cheap, but they're very good quality, and that's the caveat there. The other side that we're working on is liquid cooling for data centers. As you guys are well aware, AI is exploding, and with AI, that means data centers are exploding. And with that, you need to cool and keep your servers cool. So we aren't just starting that from scratch. We actually have quite a history in this market. Actually, my father has a patent from 2009 that's heavily utilized in this industry currently. And since then, since the last 4 or 5 years, we've actually come up with a new revolutionary proprietary patented pump technology that we're very excited for, and we'll be showcasing that in St. Louis at Supercomputer. And so the team has worked previously in previous lives in that industry, and has a lot of experience from that standpoint.
That's great. You brought up China again, and one of the questions here from our audience members was, and fellow business owner and entrepreneur, as it relates to your commercial customers, can you talk more about the cost increase to a fully American manufactured product versus, say, built in China? Many of our parts are bought from US companies, but when you peel the layer of onion back, many of these companies buy their parts from China. Do you
Yep.
buy your parts from China ultimately?
Yeah, so we no we globally source products. We look at all of our supply chain costs, quality aspects, and so we have a few iterations in our assembly process. So our electronic board that we get for the airmen, we actually get that made here in North Carolina and in South Carolina. They they get all the components and parts and assemble there, and actually build off the board and ship it to us from North Carolina and South Carolina. There's some parts you just can't get in the U.S. Market. One is bearings. Another one is magnets. China owns that magnet industry, and so we look at it from a global standpoint. We're a global organization, and so we source globally because we look at all the quality and pricing as a big push for us. The one thing I just lost my train of thought on where I was going with that. So we've looked at filters and have tried to get them made here. But what we did is we peeled the onion and everything came back to China. And they were just basically marking it up, and it was just that whole fun aspect from that standpoint. I had something else, but I can't remember exactly what it was.
Well, maybe we'll come back to it at the end, and it'll make itself available to you. So we have a lot of questions here from companies and individuals that would like to consider reshoring or bringing their production back here to the US. So what advice do you have for potential manufacturers or manufacturers that want to do this? And were there things that you would have done differently now that you have some hindsight?
Let's see. I guess really the big thing would be flexible. You got to be flexible and agile. Things are going to change. You're going to have macro issues such as tariffs that you can't control. And really the things that you need to focus on are the things that you can control. And unexpected things are going to happen. An employee leaves or a supply chain issue or something you missed in the design. And you just got to look at it, chop it up and move on, and really persevere in that aspect, because it's not easy. I would say that, but it is worthwhile in the sense of the long-term vision. And you really, again, I just mentioned long term. You got to look at it long term, and know that it's going to take years. It's not just going to happen overnight, and stuff like that. And one thing I would definitely be cognizant is cash is king. That's a big thing as well, is to look at that strategically, making sure that you as I said, things cost and take longer than you expected. So just making sure that you have that steady stream and revenue stream coming in to help support this as well.
Great. So on another side, we know that from a policy perspective, this is gaining a lot of interest to encourage companies to bring production back here to the U.S. I think you shared some great insight just there in your answer about this isn't going to happen overnight, right? Your mistakes are going to be made. You have to have that long-term vision of where you want to get, but in the short run, all kinds of things can go wrong and so forth. But what advice would you have for policymakers who are trying to get more companies to make the same decision that you did at Oransi?
Definitely support. We love as much support as possible. What we struggle with sometimes is we see a lot of these bills that come up on the Hill that are passed, and then we try to access it and it's either gone or it's already been awarded or something of that sort. And so we have a hard time, trying to find that path, and have kind of been just bootstrapping it ourselves. But opening up to small businesses really is crucial, especially with companies that have a technology advance that really makes us innovative, to get us to the next steps of where the markets need to be. I would just go back to supporting as much as possible. The SBDC does a great job, and so does the VEDP. Those are two organizations I would rely on as well, to help garnish that support. They have a lot of capabilities in networking, and best use of knowledge to navigate those the way those to bring stuff back to Virginia or other states.
So I appreciate that plug, Ben. It's always good to know that we have happy customers. So is there anything that I missed that you'd like that you want to include right now, or?
Well, I told you I'd talk about the tariffs a little bit. Tariffs.
Yeah.
The companies from the U.S. pay the tariffs. That's I've gotten the bills, and so that's we've been navigating the tariff issues since 2018, and somewhat have a solid mindset on that of how to handle it. Obviously, things lately have been a little chaotic per se, and unfortunately, those are macro issues and things we can't control. We have tried to tell people. Tariffs, this is where are hurting us and stuff. I'll give you an example of, how kind of not messed up, but the tariff ordeal is. So tariffs for us in the air purifier market have been exempt when you buy a product from China, the whole purifier product. But here, when you're building an air purifier, obviously, as I mentioned, we get some components overseas, sometimes in China. We're tariffed on those components. But if we decided to move our manufacturing to China and build out the whole product, all those components that were in that product are exempt now because they're in the air purifier. And so it's kind of what I would say anti-U.S. manufacturing from a tariff standpoint. And we've tried to explain that to a few of the government officials, and they just are like fiberglassed by that. But that's where we've seen an issue from a tariff standpoint is we're paying tariffs while the competitors that get their product out overseas are not.
Right.
And so that's been an interesting fun debacle that we've struggled with.
So that kind of sounds like advice for policymakers is maybe talk
Yes.
to more businesses about what is actually happening. And,
Yes.
maybe your intentions are aligned with this small business, but the execution
Yeah.
could be carried out better.
Yeah, and I mentioned to you, Aaron, one of the other things that has been happening lately with this tariff issue, again, we're a small business, and so cash flow is critical to our business. And with this tariff issue, we've gone from 160% to 100% to 75% back to 125%. It's been almost a daily change in tariff rates. But what's happening is these brokers that do our shipments. They're starting to require prepayment of tariffs. So one specifically was anything over $10,000. We had to prepay, and so typically that was still another 90 days before we would have to pay that tariff. And now that they're saying, no, we got to pay that 90 days sooner. That disrupts his cash flow, especially when it's very high cost tariff rate.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of pressure on your cash flow doesn't necessarily lead to more innovation.
No.
There are some good pressures and some pressures that you want to alleviate right away.
Oh yeah.
So a question from the audience, again, and this kind of maybe ties to tariffs. What percentage of your product is US based versus coming from overseas?
Let's see. Specific. So again, we have a transition period, so we do get some legacy products from overseas. You'll see on the air purifier side, the Mod and Mod Junior, those currently come from overseas, but we're actually in the process of transitioning that to being assembled here in the U.S. For the Airman series, I don't want to quote something that I don't have a hard number in, but it's definitely north of 50% per se. And that other interesting thing too, not to harp on things, is the Made in USA claim. You can only claim Made in USA if 100% of your products all your components are made in the US. And then there's a little gray area in how that works in the FTC, I believe. So that's been an interesting caveat. So so we are north of 50% from assembled in USA.
Great. And I'll use that to give a plug as well to the U.S. Export-Import Bank. Eric Stevens is here on our call, and he sent a link about XM's new program, Make More in America. So it's XM will definitely be a resource for you if you're on this call. I'd encourage you to check that out as well. Another question that we had, Ben, is what made you pick Virginia over other regions where you had warehouses?
Yeah, so that was deliberate and strategic. So one being, my father started a company called Aspen Motion Technologies back in '96, and has been in this area since '89, working in the motion control area. So with that, we have a pretty experienced team that we've worked with for 20 plus years. And that was a really big proponent of that. Additionally, people don't realize this typically in Southwest Virginia, and we try to highlight it. But we consider the New River Valley the Silicon Valley of electric motors. From a per capita standpoint, there's roughly 10 plus companies that focus on electric motors, and not many people know that. And sometimes that's deliberate because they work with the government strategically. But it's a very opportunistic market added aspect. So the manufacturing base is here, and we have a very high level network. So when people, are complaining about they can't hire anybody or they're trying to fill in their spots, luckily we don't have that problem because we get people almost not daily per se, but on a weekly, monthly basis asking, when are you guys going to have more jobs available? And so that was one of the main reasons, was that strategic, was the manufacturing base and then the market base that was here already.
Mm-hmm. And I note that Virginia was recently ranked, I think, 9th in the Manufacturing Competitive Index, and workforce was definitely a strength of Virginia. So that's great as well. We have a few more minutes if there's any other questions.
Yeah, I think there is one question. One says, do you sell to the government organizations? Yes. I don't know what specific organizations you're referring to, but we do. If you, then I think he asked for my contact information. So yes, you can have my contact information. We can share that after this call.
Great. Awesome. Well, Ben, I really appreciate everything that you've done here to kind of shed light on this process and demystify it, and give encouragement and prospects for others that would look to follow in your footsteps in doing this. So we really appreciate you taking the time to do this and bringing these jobs back to Virginia.
Yeah. No, I appreciate Aaron and SBDC for hosting this and then inviting Oransi on this platform. And if anybody wants to reach out to me or Oransi, you can find me on LinkedIn. And then obviously Oransi. We actually have two websites. We have Oransi.com that focuses on our air purifier, and then we have Oransi.tech, TECH, that focuses on our OEM motor side standpoint. And then, if anybody wants to reach out, I live in Richmond, Virginia, but commute back and forth between Rapid on a weekly basis. So I'm kind of all over the state. I'm happy to get a coffee or a drink and talk further. I think highlighting, past experiences and networking is really vital to making things improve and have a better success longer term.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, Ben, for being so generous with your time and opening yourself up for other questions from entrepreneurs here. So yep. I think Sheila shared your company website here in the chat for everybody. And
I did the long version because I was trying to do it fast to get on screen. So everyone can just start it, end it at .com.
There you go.
So I want to thank everyone. Ben, thank you. Aaron, thank you. I think this was a great amount of information to be shared with everyone. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today as well. As a reminder, you're going to receive an email with a link to the recording so you can rewatch it. And if you think of any other questions, reach out. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. These resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we do hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, it looks like one more question. Oh,
Oh.
thank you. It's just that thank you.
Yep, just someone saying thank you. See? Great.
There we
It was
go.
a great webinar. I appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.